Good afternoon, Good Shepherd. It's Wednesday, August 19th, and it's midweek moment time. So have something a little different today. The conversations at church and around the diocese and around the nation about how we come together again in our individual congregations, that conversation is lively, shall we say. And it has been lively at Good Shepherd as well, among various individuals and folks on the vestry. And I'm hearing similar conversations around the diocese. So I thought that today I'd address this question here, especially as it relates to Good Shepherd. And certainly part of that really stems from the work that you all did when we did the parish survey a couple of months back. We've been waiting to share the results of that survey until we knew more. We wanted to digest it a bit. We learned quite a bit, but there's really one thing that I want to talk about today, and I'm grateful to our junior warden, Karen Elson, for putting together this chart that I want to share with you here. And hoping I can get this to, there we go. So this is a chart really about how we, the congregation understands itself coming back together. And the blue bars in this chart have to do with people who are comfortable or very comfortable in terms of answering the various questions, various scenarios. And the green bars are those who are particularly uncomfortable in various scenarios. And as you might expect, the line from left to right of the green bars increases, or the line from right to left of the blue bars increases. That being that small groups, the far left category, the small groups, less than 10 people outside the building, gatherings of people 10 or less outside the building, 80% of the people are pretty comfortable with that. Whereas, and only 24% of the folks aren't particularly comfortable with that. The number of comfortable folks, the percentage, decreases as we move towards the center of the graph, and the number of folks who are uncomfortable increases towards the center of the graph. So those two pieces in the middle, medium-sized groups inside the building and large groups outside the building, that's where the shift happens. But what I really want to draw our attention to is the fourth piece, the third and the fourth piece in from the left. That's where the most people, where we hit that, I don't want to call it a sweet spot, but a semi-sweet spot between how comfortable we are, either inside or outside, and that it's a relatively small group of folk, 11 to 25. Once we get to larger groups, the comfort level decreases. It drops almost 10%. Down to 44%, and similarly reflected by the uncomfortable sense. So as we start to think about how we wanted to regather, we made some assumptions. This graph really helped us correct some of those assumptions. And so I just wanted to show that there at the very beginning, as we talk about how we're moving forward. There was a task force that was established by the vestry a couple of vestry meetings ago, and they wanted to, it was their charge to figure out what kind of procedures we needed to adopt, how we were going to move safely into the building for our, sort of regathering a service in the building, recognizing that we were limited by state regulations or county regulations to a gathering of 50 people or less. And so they started work on that. And then we learned more stuff. They came back to the vestry with this plan a month ago and presented it. And we there was still some discomfort about that, recognizing the data that was there in the survey. And then we heard some more things, and I've mentioned these in previous midweek moments. We've heard about aerosols, this stuff that sort of floats that's more like an odor than anything else that you can't easily correct for. And we've heard about air exchange rates. And again, I've talked about those as well. And so our cautionary level about moving back into the building has increased pretty dramatically, and that was sort of across the board at the vestry meeting last night, recognized. People want to move back in, but we are really, really cautious, and we recognize how cautious a lot of folks are, regardless of age, because of going back to school. Whether you're a younger teacher and not in the vulnerable age, or you're a parent of kids and you don't want your kids coming home with an unwanted guest. All of those things are part of what we're trying to juggle at Good Shepherd. And it occurred to me over the last few weeks that we've also, and this can't be laid at the feet of anyone, made some fundamental assumptions that moving back into the building, even with 50 people, has been sort of a kind of this holy grail that we've assumed was going to solve a lot of problems. And we've to use a cliche, we kind of put all our eggs in that basket. And I'm not sure that has served us well. I'm not sure that the language of reopening has served us well. And so at the vestry meeting last night, and as I've thought about this a lot, we're moving towards rethinking this a little bit and talking more about regathering, and regathering in multiple ways. We don't know what it's going to look like. What we recognize from a lot of the data in the survey was that some people are really interested in coming back together to be with each other. They miss the people. And that sounds so Good Shepherd. And then there are another group of people who really miss communion. And sometimes those things are really interrelated. Some people really want the sacrament and are I don't want to say less concerned about gathering together, but it's the sacrament that's important for them. These are all reflective of our personal understandings of our spirituality, our relationship with God, how we get to know God, how we meet God, and how we are fed. And so what we're looking at, not just the vestry, not just this task force, but what I'm asking you is to think wildly about various ways of regathering. The men's group is talking about how it's going to regather. Senior Singles is regathering, more than just online, but occasionally in person, socially distanced, with masks. The youth group has begun to regather, and they're collecting people who aren't joining in on Zoom. There are multiple ways to regather. And what we're learning too is that there may be multiple ways of regathering liturgically. Especially we know that the bishop's office is going to come out with some guidelines or recommendations for how we can do communion. Those are supposed to come out in the next several weeks in September. That may change how we think about regathering as a community. It may be, here's an option. It may be that what we would do is continue our Sunday morning Zoom gatherings. That may be the primary thing for many people. Others may say, I'm willing to come back or come to the church later in the day for a smaller gathering for communion. It might be an abbreviated service, probably outside, at least as long as we can be outside. We recognize that the weather is going to come in on us sooner or later, and we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. So we really don't know what are the various opportunities or the options that we've not really explored at Good Shepherd for a long time. We haven't really explored worship past Sundays, except for some occasional, maybe seasonal things or some occasional experiments. We're finding out that Compline on Wednesday nights is pretty popular. But most everything has been said on Sundays. Traditional Sunday morning and then Sunday evening. So what would worship look like not on Sunday mornings? What would it look like in different formations? All of those things are things that we want to sort of explore. Recognition that each of us approach God in our own ways. We know what we need, and what is kind of an add-on. That's going to be different for each one of us. And we know that as we move forward, we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. There isn't a one size fits all. And it may be that we will provide a variety of options that people will be able to choose amongst. One week they may choose option A and C, and the next week it would be A and D, or maybe they'll go with B and D. We don't know, because we haven't really looked at it that way. We've tried to focus in one direction primarily. And I think that we've got creative people, we've got committed people who can really imagine a little bit more broadly. And that's what I want to invite you to do. If you've got any ideas about how to go about this, let us know. And we'd love to have those be concrete, rather than to hear, you should do this. Well, we're getting a lot of you shoulds. What I'd like to be participating in is this. So let me know. The 4 people who are on that task force are Bob Ray, Casey Creenan, Susie Street, and Ann McMahon. And if you need ways of getting in contact with them, and you don't have a parish directory, just let us know. Let the office know, and we can put you in contact with any of them, or you can always reach out to me. But we're looking for as many ideas as we can get, and we're going to see how many of these might work to meet the various spiritual needs of the wonderful flock of sheep that is here at Good Shepherd. In the meantime, try and keep cool. I think I heard some thunder outside. That's good news. Try and keep cool. Certainly keep safe. Look forward to seeing you soon. Blessings.